Hello everybody. So this is really my first video in a post-ATM world, or at least the transitory phase that we're in right now, which is a kind of a post-ATM phase until the price of MSTR shoots up. And I think it could happen because we're at 119K. I just woke up like an hour ago and I just saw Bitcoin break 119K. Beautiful feeling in the morning. So I generated this picture, you see, burning shorts. And the key question, because we are not doing the ATM anymore until we reach a 2.5 MNAV. And sure, they can be just random ATM to pay some of the dividends, but that's going to be towards the end of the quarter. That's going to be very little. So right now, you know, there's a lot of shorts. There's a lot of people who are short MSTR, especially big fish, you know, like big hedge funds who are short MSTR. And the key question that I wonder, and that many of us wonder, is where will the shares be found to cover? Because a lot of us retail who hold MicroStrategy are not selling. We are not selling. You have all sorts of retirement funds, all sorts of now pension funds, of course, but I want to say sovereign funds. You know, we know Switzerland. We know there's different countries that own MSTR. There's a lot of bigger players that are starting to own MSTR. You have QQQ, of course, who owns MSTR. Where are the shares going to come from if he stops selling the shares? That's what I'm trying to say here, which is why we could be set up for explosive open, hopefully on Monday, but we don't really know because these markets are manipulated. You know, on Sunday night at 5 or 6 p.m. my time, Bitcoin starts crashing. It's like a clock. It's always like that. So the point I'm trying to say is we don't know when the spike is going to come. We don't know when the squeeze is going to come. But if there is a setup ever better for a squeeze, it is right now. It is right now because he's not selling new shares right now because we are nowhere near 2.5 MNAV. You know, in fact, we're a little above 1.5 MNAV. I didn't put a screenshot on there. We know he bought more Bitcoin. He bought more Bitcoin, and I don't know what's going on with Sailor with double negatives. If you don't stop buying Bitcoin, you won't stop making money. So I translate this, you know, it's if you continue to buy Bitcoin, you will keep making money, which tells me that he bought Bitcoin and he's got quite the ATM going on. Remember that he set up the ATM on Stretch now. He has a $4.2 billion ATM on Stretch, and I am curious as to how quickly he's actually going to go through this ATM. So like I said, nothing better than the smell of Bitcoin breaking an over $1,000 mark in the morning. 119K, that was about 10 minutes ago. So it's much of a celebration, and you can see that, of course, many people keep criticizing MSTR on X and on different platforms and saying, oh, it has outperformed Bitcoin, and really, I think it's a little odd because if you just look at a 1 year period for MSTR, let me show you this. I just went back and looked at a 1 year chart. You can see we're at exactly plus 200%. This is 1 year. I'm not cherry picking. This is just over 1 year. We're exactly at plus 200%. The stock moved from 100 and change to 395 right now. And if you compare this, of course, to Bitcoin itself, let's take the Bitcoin ETF as a proxy, you can see Bitcoin itself has only grown by 96% over 1 year. So Bitcoin over 1 year plus 96%. And then strategy over 1 year, where are we at? We're at plus 200%. So we are outperforming Bitcoin. I don't understand why people just zoom over a 3-month period and say we're not outperforming Bitcoin with MSTR. We definitely are outperforming Bitcoin with MSTR. Just don't look at a 3-month period. And if you look, of course, at a 5-year period, this is why it's a long-term hold. This is why I'm not going to do covered call on MSTR. I don't care if it's a 10 or 15 delta because I know this stock can spike in a very short period of time. If you look at MSTR over a 5-year period, so I took August of 2020, when they announced and implemented the strategy, the Bitcoin treasury strategy, the very start of their journey. That was August of 2020. Not cherry picking any data. You can see we're at 99% average annual return in a 5-year period for 5 years, right? And so the stock is up 31x, 32x is what the stock is up. Bitcoin over the same period, and I'm using GBTC, and of course GBTC is not a perfect proxy, but that's all we had back in 2020. So Bitcoin, as seen through GBTC, is only a 7x. It's only a 7 times your money on Bitcoin. MSTR was a 30 times your money over Bitcoin. And so MSTR, of course, has changed a lot of lives for people who were in early, and I think this stock will continue to outperform. This stock is a black hole in the monetary system. It has opened multiple black holes, as I've shown multiple times of this video. What is the product of MSTR? The product of MSTR is the equity, the equities, the preferreds. That's the product of MSTR. MSTR has 5 products right now because we know they're done with convertible bonds. So the convertible bonds are not a product of MSTR anymore, but the product of MSTR is MSTR common stock, strike, strife, stride, and stretched preferred stocks. These are the products. There is 5 products that we're selling, and the product that Saylor is the most focused on selling right now, that product is Stretch. And Stretch is, to me, it's like a stable coin for corporation. It's intended over time to compete with money markets, to compete with currency, and that's why I think it shows a C, Stretch, but you could also call it strategy coin, an expensive coin that is going to be designed to trade at $100 a share. And how is he going to do that? Well, as soon as we get past 100, you can do programmatic issuance, right? You can do very, very precise issuance of new shares to keep the price at 100, to keep a lid on the price at 100. Right now, we're not at 100, but I think that as soon as it starts trading at 100, if it reaches 101, what do you think Saylor's going to do? Minute by minute, as soon as it gets past 101, you issue new shares, and you issue new shares, and you issue new shares. And so I think really the cap is going to be 100, and he's going to manage that stock like this. And if there is perpetual demand, if there is very strong demand for Stretch, I'm curious to see how he's going to be able to keep it at 100, and if he's going to be able to do that. And if he's going to be able to do that, that's going to be fascinating. Moving on also to this idea, keep in mind that you could potentially have Saylor issue an equity that trades at $1. That's constantly, perpetually at $1. That's also something that he could technically do. Another point that I've started developing lately, or thinking about, is he could also develop an instrument, a preferred equity instrument that is specifically designed for government, to be held by government with maybe different covenants and different things as governments try to acquire Bitcoin. There's a lot of things it could do. The point I'm trying to show here, by giving you all of these screenshots of course, the MSTR preferred, is that you can see they've all sold off quite a bit, except the new one, of course, which is Stretch, which is up. And Stretch, still has $7 of upside in Stretch. But if you look at the best preferred, and by the way, I don't own the preferreds, I only own the common. I want the higher return. But if you look at the strike preferred, which to me is the better preferred, because this one is going to be convertible 10 to 1 share. It's going to be convertible to MSTR equity, this one. So that's what makes it special. If you look, it dropped from 125, almost 126 to 109. So it had quite a substantial drop. And I guess it's linked to the equity, but even then, it's tough to understand that drop. You can see Strife and Stride didn't drop nearly as much, although they did drop. And so we are kind of in a deal territory, I would argue here. No financial advice, of course, but why do I say that? It seems like those instruments have not reacted to the Fed funds rate, the FOMC meeting predictions here, the Fed rate prediction. We've been steadily anchored in a September rate cut. We've been around 90% for quite a few days now, dare I say a week. And so so we're going to get rate cuts. And so if we are actually going to get rate cuts, which, I'm always very careful saying that. I always doubt that, because I think at this point rate cuts are not coming, because it's political. But I'll see it when I believe it. But the Fed, the FOMC tool here, the CME projection tool, is telling us there's going to be a cut in September. If there is a cut in September, I cannot understand why these instruments are dropping in value. They should be going up in value. Of course, if we ever get back, which I think we will, if we get back to a zero interest rate environment or close to that, which there is no alternative, Tina, if we ever get back to that in 2 to 3 years, to me, these instruments should be, at least for strike stretch, these instruments should be trading at least above 150, and so there's quite a bit of upside in these instruments if the rates drop. It's the same as TLT, right? It's bonds in general. When interest rates drop at the Fed level, eventually those bonds should follow, and the value of those bonds should go up. So again, very interesting equities. I think all this to say is that I think he's going to see a lot of demand for the preferreds, and I think he's going to see a lot of demand for stretch. And again, we don't have much new information. Much of the new information will be tomorrow. Will be released tomorrow, and I'm very hopeful for tomorrow. I hope market makers don't make the price of Bitcoin drop at 6 or 7 p.m. today. Please don't do that to us, as they always do. But it's okay. I'm a long-term shareholder. I really don't care. It's short-term doesn't matter to me. But this was not financial advice. This is not investment advice. This is only entertainment. I'm hoping you entertained. Please like, please subscribe, follow me on Patreon, follow me on X. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.